Last time, chat, we covered Aurelion Sol and his voice lines. And we touched upon the subject of Targon and the mountain of Targon. And how did my boy Aurelion Sol got enslaved by Targon. So what did they do? So this is the story, lore of legends of Runeterra Targon. You know, because at the end it's all the same story. Yeah, if we're going to play a bit of a Riot MMO, it's going to be the same story. So, you know, we have to familiarize with ourselves with that.
Hello everyone and welcome to a video that everyone's been waiting for.
So,
I know I just released an hour-long video that was fully edited and it ate a lot of my time, but hey, it's Targon, so you should expect a lot of new lore reveals today. As always, every time Legends of Runeterra releases something new, it is always an amazing new addition to the lore of League of Legends.
True.
And Targon is definitely no exception. However, given how the Targonian cards work, and how with the new invoke mechanic...
Oh, it was because of the expansion. Yeah, it was because of the expansion in the Legend of in the card game. Yeah, same universe, same story.
You can summon Celestials, which are not actually shown here among the cards. These are hidden cards that you can only find during the game. This means that in total, Targon has a lot of new cards. And so I will try to go through them a little bit quicker. Although, you know me, every time I say that the video is gonna be at least 30 minutes long. So without further ado, let's have a look at all the new lore the Targonian cards reveal. Starting with Diana. Both Diana and Leona have one really cool description and one that's not that cool. The uncool description is the one before you level up. Here, the description just explains how the Lunari love their leader. Nothing special here. Although, I just quickly want to point out that right here at the bottom right, you can find not Night Bloom, which is the flower that Aphelios is turning into a poison, but this is a dusk petal. And it's a very fragile flower that turns into a dust when you touch it. But then we have the leveled up version.
So why would you touch a flower then? That's the question. Also, you level up. Yeah, I feel like there's some level ups in the card game. I don't know, maybe we need to play it. She stood amidst them as she prepared for a battle, radiating light, bedecked in a silver and blue. Her eyes like stars as the moon rose and shone dawn on her. Each of the Lunari gathered their closed their eyes in silent prayer for their safety and in gratitude. That's about it. And then we have Diana raised down upon the mountain, sword drawn and coated with dusk petal dust. Oh, so her sword is in the flowers? Bro, I know you're using poisons on your weapons, you know, to deal extra damage, but flowers? Why flowers? Anyway, she knew Leona would find her as she was counting on it. Her heart fluttered with anxious anticipation, and she was breathing deeply so to still it. This time upon their meeting, she would have the upper hand. This time she would face her old friend head on. So they were friends. Okay.
This one has a really cool Easter egg. The description says, Diana raced down the mountain, swords drawn and coated.
Why the f did I read that? So, Necrit, if you're reading this one, why didn't you read the first one? I thought we were doing the workload in here, you know? Or maybe I was supposed to read the first one. Oh my god.
With dusk petal dust.
You get the idea.
She knew Leona would find her.
Skill issue, massive.
Her heart fluttered with anxious anticipation, and she breathed deeply to still it. This time upon their meeting, she would have the upper hand. She would face her old friend head on.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The reason why this card is really cool is because this is only one half of an encounter. Because if you look at the shadow on the floor, you can see that's Leona. The last card Diana has...
It looks like Pantheon to me, just saying, you know?
This is her Pale Cascade, which is the shield she used in the cinematic too.
So, Necrit, am I reading or you reading? Who is reading? Okay, I'll do it. Under the cover of night, washed over by a pale moon. Diana. See, I did it.
But then we get to Leona. Just like Diana, she also has a description that just talks about how the Solari love her.
So, do you read it or I read it? Necrit?
However, here...
Gotcha. She stood amidst them as she prepared for battle, radiating light, bedecked in crimson and gold, her eyes like embers as the rising sun crowned her head in light. Each Solari presents lowered their eyes, not in shame, but in deference to their shining leader. Aww, Sims.
Like Diana, she also has a description that just talks about how the Solari love her. However, here it is cool that it mentions how everyone in Leona's presence looks down, which is a really cool reference to the fact that you are not supposed to look at the sun directly. And then we get the cool part of Leona.
This picture too. We're getting a bit of a mobby vibes in here, not gonna lie. Anyway.
This is what casts the shadow in Diana's card. So here you can see that the two are fighting. Leona's description says, this was what Leona had prepared for. She knew she would fight Diana fleeing down the mountain. She breathed deeply to still her fluttering heartbeat, willing it silent with grim resolve. This time upon their meeting, she had the upper hand. This time she would face her old friend head on.
So basically exactly the same. Straight up exactly the same. Only one has moon, the other one has sun. That's it.
So as you can see, both aspects think that they have the upper hand. So I wonder if this...
I mean, with this perspective, with this camera shot, Leona definitely has the upper hand. Just saying.
fight has any lore meaning. I wonder if this is actually happening, or if it happened. But right now, we simply don't know how this ends. Leona also has the cards for Morning Light, which just shows us the Solari crest, and Solari Flare, which also doesn't really have any meaning. But then we get to Taric, and Taric is just full of Easter eggs.
Yeah, Taric is an aspect. Last time I checked, he was a criminal in Demacia, and with criminals in Demacia, what they do is they send them to the Mount of Targon. So they climb and die, realistically. Yeah, but Demacia is lazy, so no one is supervising that. So most of the criminals are just running away. Taric, GigaChat made the climb and he became the aspect of something.
First of all, I quickly want to mention that I love how the gems around him continue up the mountain, and they draw out a helpful path for those who would ascend the mountain. In fact, the person we can see here in front of Taric is Tiare the Traveler, who has his own entire storyline hidden in the other cards. So just remember this person. And
Aspect of the Protector, yeah, I definitely knew that.
just remember how Taric is helping him ascend the mountain. The description says, Taric's gentle kindness inspires all who meet him, galvanizing them to find the warmth within, to bolster themselves on even the coldest nights. His evolved version then shows us Taric at the peak of Mount Targon. As you'll see from the other cards, this is what the very peak of the mountain looks like. And here the description says, why should Taric show his fellow man kindness? Well, he came to Targon a broken man, intent to climbing the mountain to atone for his sins.
Yep, he was a criminal. Yeah, that's so far correct.
And he succeeded. Nobody knows better that all broken things can be made beautiful again. Because yes, this is a reference to Taric's lore. In case you haven't seen it, we have recently updated it. So
Taric Lord X video, maybe? Angle? Chat? Hey?
this card is a reference to the fact that Taric was once a Demacian. He failed in the military, a lot of people died because of him, and so the Demacians punished him by making him ascend Mount Targon.
Sad.
This kind of sentence to death was known in Demacia as the Crown of Stone. And Taric was one of the rare few who actually endured to the crown. And then there is Taric's Blessing of Targon, which simply says a little something from Targon, which is his in-game quote. And then there is Aurelion Sol,
There
the
it is.
Starforger. His descriptions are just a joke, but it's a
What do you mean just a joke? Okay, am I reading or who's reading? Okay, maybe Necrit is reading this one.
good one. I don't care what you write about me, you middling creature. Just make sure I am described as handsome and magnificent. And also very, very intelligent. Can you spell that?
Lord Accurate Asol, by the way.
And then when we have a look at the leveled up version, Aurelion Sol is handsome and magnificent and also very, very intelligent. Yes, they actually spelled it wrong.
Wait, hold on, where's the mistake? And most replayed, yeah, of course it's most replayed because everyone wants to see the mistake. Intelligent, okay chat, what is the mistake? I feel like there has to be two L's, no? Handsome and magnificent and also very, very intelligent. I feel like two L's, maybe.
Also very, very intelligent. Yes, they actually spelled it wrong. What is cool about this card is that this one seems to give us the canon size of Aurelion Sol. Since we can see the aurora of the planet beneath, I assume that this is Mount Targon, because this is supposed to be literally the only mountain that is reaching the heavens. So yeah, Aurelion is pretty huge. But there is also the Sky's Descent spell, which says, when the time comes, I think I'll make an example of Runeterra. Perhaps I'll drag its smoldering husk around with me for all eternity, like a toy. A dead, worthless toy. I don't know, I have not really thought about it much.
But why would you do that? You just have to move on, brother, you know? When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. When life enslaves you, you break free and you forget about it. Because right now, if you're going to be carrying the entire planet behind you, you'll be always remembering that, you know, you were once a slave. Just saying.
So what we can see in this art is probably Runeterra exploding.
Maybe.
Which is curious, because we can see two planets around it. I assume that one of them would be the moon, but I am not exactly sure what the other one would be. We know that technically Runeterra has two moons, but one is in the physical realm and the other one is in the spirit realm, and they have different orbits. So that's what these could be. Then again, it could be just totally random planets. And now we are getting to all the follower cards, starting with Gift Giver. They say the Protector blessed these gems. Wear them, and he shall be with you in spirit. Here, try to remember these characters, because
I feel like this is the League of Legends version of Egypt. You go in there, everyone is selling you. Like, look at her. She's already selling a good charm. $5, my friend. Blessed by the protector himself. Buy it. My friend, trust me. Oh, you want to visit Pyramid? We go visit Pyramid. I show you. You want to ride camel? You ride camel. $5, my friend. $5.
The guy at the back here is actually Taric the Traveler, who will return a lot. And the people who are around him are his companions. And this card marks the beginning of their journey to ascend Mount Targon. And then there—
As Egyptian, I can confirm this. Like, I'm telling you, bro, the hustle is real. In Egypt, the hustle is fucking real.
is a separate card for the gems. To which Taric the Traveler says, you don't need to see to believe, just have a little faith.
True.
For the next one we have Lunari Duskbringer, who of course is surrounded by the Dusk Petals, which we have seen in Leona's card. And remember how Leona's description mentioned that her blade was covered with Dusk Petal dust? Well,
yeah, that's the description I was reading. Necrit, why didn't you read it?
Dusk Petals bloom at night, and then only under a full moon. A proud symbol of the Lunari. We have used their dust for centuries, as only we know how to harvest them safely.
You just don't, because if you touch them, they become into dust. So how about you don't harvest them, you know?
So as you can see in this art, this Lunari is also using the Dusk Petal dust to enchant their weapon. And then there is also a separate card for the Dusk Petal. The fragrance of the Dusk Petal is like none other. Sweet and strange, but fleeting. It is delicate as moonlight itself. And then we get a tiny dip into the Celestial cards. First of all, there is Messenger's Sigil. Time passes, skies turn. The serpent moves aside, and the messenger takes its place overhead. The season of abundance awaits. So this card is just talking about the fact that there are certain star constellations that represent celestial characters. For example, there is a constellation of the dog, and
As a Nessus main, I'm happy about this one.
that one represents the messenger. The card also mentions the serpent, but we'll get to that later. Here, in the other part of this card,
Honestly, best celestial ever. Tell me what you want, bro. If that's not the best celestial ever, I don't know what is. The dog doing, exactly. What the dog doing. So kawaii, bro.
we can actually see the messenger. We will talk about a lot of other celestials later on. So just to prepare you for what we are about to get into. Most of these celestials were created by Aurelion Sol. We know this because of his in-game quotes.
Wait, he created celestials? I thought celestials were already there. No? Hold, and the more you know. So he created celestials, why would you do that?
And this makes sense because these beings are represented by their star constellations. And of course, the stars were put into the sky by Aurelion Sol.
Okay, that makes sense,
That's why he made them. And the description of this one says, as leaves unfurl from barren branches, the Lady of Spring sends her messenger to inform the Lord of Winter of the changing season. The messenger's bark startles the stars into new places in the sky, while his loyal heart warms the land. Essentially, what this is trying to say is that as seasons change, the
winter is coming, just that simple, bro.
stars in the sky change too. Which should be obvious.
Soraka is a celestial too, though? Yeah, so is Bard. So hold on, you want to tell me that Aurelion Sol is Soraka's daddy? What?
Because the planet is rotating. Because it's not flat. Hopefully. But more on Celestials later. Then there is Porofly. I talked about this many times before. We are technically not sure what Poros even are.
I mean, you focus on the Porofly as the Jax main, I focus on something else here. Anyway.
We have never seen a dead Poro, which makes me wonder if Poros can even die. And since Poros are everywhere, including on the Shadow Isles, where they should actually die and yet they don't, it really feels like Poros are indestructible. And so sure, I am not surprised that there is some kind of an half-ascended Poro.
Imagine, in the end game, when we're playing Riot MMO, the end game is we're going against the Void Lords, yeah? So we've managed to get Belveth onto our team, so somehow we joined with Viego, the king of Ruination, you know? And we are still failing to defeat the Void Lords. This is where we use the ultimate weapon. We get Poroflies. Why? Because they are immortal. Big brain.
It simply says, in space, no one can hear you squeak. And then we get the first Solari card. However, here, if you look at the back, you can see a familiar character. This is the Lunari girl who escaped during the cinematic.
What?
Here we can see her while she was still in the Solari prison. But as to how she got here, that will be explained in another card. And then we get Spacey Sketcher. This is my favorite. I call it metaphysical identity of the conscious psyche. Unless you tilt your head like this, then it kinda looks like two spoons. Here she is talking about her space drawings. But things get slightly strange here. Based on her clothing, I would say that she's more of a Lunari than...
No, she's more of a Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter, the first part, yeah. And the Sorcerer's Stone, no, Philosopher's Stone, yeah, the Philosopher's Stone. Because that's the face, and this is where Lord Voldemort is living. Bro, I watched that movie like a few months ago. I know what I'm talking about.
Solari. But then again, there are other Targonians who are not siding with either side. So maybe she is on the independent side. However, considering the fact that she is using a portal to move around, for a second I thought that she might be an ascended person. But that's probably not the truth, because as you'll see later, there are other Targonians who can also use this kind of magic. And
do they all look like Zoe though? Asking for a friend, that's Jack's main as well.
they were definitely not ascended either. Although, it would be really cool if this was revealed to be Maisha, the previous aspect of Twilight, who used portals very similar to Zoe. And then there is Star Shepherd, the main character of the newest cinematic. Ever since I saw one streak across the night sky, I've loved Stellarcorns. If only I had known then that I would meet so many. Of course, there is a reason why this person looks like Soraka. And that's because if you go back to Soraka's lore, that was updated quite a while ago, so it gives you an idea of how long Riot has been thinking about this. There it was revealed that after Soraka arrived on Runeterra, she moved to Targon, and there she started teaching the local Vastaya how to use celestial magic to heal people. However, we are not exactly sure if Soraka took on a form of these Vastaya, or if these Vastaya are trying to mimic Soraka.
See, now this is the question I have. Celestials are made out of stars. Stars are being created by Aurelion Sol. Aurelion Sol is a slave to Targon. So, hear me out, chat. Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. If Soraka is the daughter of Aurelion Sol who is enslaved by Targon, why the she would go to Targon and help them learn the idea of healing? Why is she teaching them how to heal? Because everyone in Targon is bad because they made your daddy a slave. I'm confused.
Since the Celestials don't have a physical form until they arrive on Runeterra, which is something we learned from Bard's lore, this means that it is more likely that Soraka mimicked these Vastaya to fit in. Anyway, we will see more of this person later on. Then there is Behold the Infinite. Just remember this exact eye, because it will come back later.
That's Dar. No, that's not Dar.
And there is Guiding Touch, which is the goat person we just mentioned. But then there is the Herald of Dragons. And this is how we start getting into the dragon lore. The clouds twisted with their massive forms, and the sky itself seemed to shake with their keening wails. She knew what was to come, and yet felt no fear but the warm embrace of destiny. So of course here, what we can see in the background are celestial dragons.
Yeah, the only thing you can separate the celestial dragon from normal dragon is the lack of wings, because in the last video when we were watching Aurelion Sol, he was insulting a dragon because he had wings. These dragons have no wings, so you could definitely say that these are celestial dragons, and also children of Asol, if I'm not mistaken, because he created them, technically.
However, I do believe that there is a difference between a celestial dragon and a Targonian dragon. Because I do believe that these dragons specifically are the dragons of Twilight that were mentioned in the older story called The Twilight of the Gods.
Never heard of it, but chat will need to learn about that story as well.
Where, before the Ascended turned into the Darkin, they sometimes rode the dragons of Twilight to the beginning of time, and they witnessed the creation of the universe. And the Ascended did it just for fun. But technically, we have never really seen what these Twilight dragons look like. So I assume it is one of these. As you'll see, there will be more dragons later, but since there are supposed to be many dragons of Twilight, it should be the most common spacey dragons, which fits these. Before we move on to the next one, I just quickly want to mention that this person is actually mimicking Aurelion Sol.
The most common of the space dragons, and there is other Necrit video that was released a few days ago talking about the mounts in the Riot MMO, possible mounts. Well, I imagine one of these dragons is going to be a mount.
You can see they have a purple face, they have his teeth drawn on it, they also have the two golden horns that are part of his crown, which was made by the Targonians, and his long purple body. Then we have Lunari Shadestalker, and this card reveals how the Lunari girl got imprisoned. Let us cast our eyes towards the heavens, towards the sun, towards our ladies... Wait, what? What is that? Of course, those are the words of the Solari priest at the bottom, who looked up and they saw the Lunari girl.
Busted.
That's how they found her, and that's how she got imprisoned. Then we have mountain goats. I love these.
Bro, that's the mount we need. Forget dragons, forget horses, forget reptiles. That's the mount we need. Imagine riding one of that into battle, like straight up, the goat. I feel like it was a battle of 5 armies in the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, battle of 5 armies when you're just going into that entire massive battlefield with rams, with the goats. Ooh, the best.
But the description doesn't add anything to how cool these are. Then there is Solari Shieldbreaker, and once again here we can see the Lunari girl. Foolish not to come under cover of night. The Shieldbreaker straightened. Lay down your arms and come peacefully. The Lunari
shield bearer, not shield breaker, yeah, because bro, that would be kinda odd. He has a shield, and why would he break a shield? Kinda defeats the purpose of a shield.
Crouched in silence, readying her curved blades once more. So be it. The Solari readied herself in turn, lifting her shield to reflect the rays of rising sun. This makes me wonder when on the timeline is this happening? Is this happening before the Lunari girl is discovered? Or after that? Does this mean that the Lunari girl is going to kill the shield bearer? But I assume not. If you look at the background, you can see a Solari shrine here. With all the pillars and the open spaces, it looks very similar to the previous arc. So I think this is when she got discovered, she tried to run away, but because the night just ended, and there was a daybreak, the Solari had the advantage, and that...
Fucking hell, bro. We've got only 2 pictures in here, and Necrit as a fucking detective managed to combine and get the story of what happened in here. Jesus Christ, I feel like I'm watching a CSI right now, you know? My guy connecting the dots where there are no dots to be connected. Jesus, fucking amazing.
That's how she got captured. Anyway, then we have Starlord Stomper. The description is just mentioning how Zoe thinks this one is cute, which you will hear a lot from her in-game quotes.
Imagine having Necrit against you in court. Oh no, bro, if I have a Necrit against me in court, bro, I'll just confess, bro, I'm guilty. Give me max punishment, no? Also, this is very kawaii elephant.
I wish mine was like that. What do stars smell like to you?
She has a lot of those. But I wonder what that... which you will hear a lot from her in-game quotes.
I like your nose. I wish mine was like that. What do stars smell like to you?
She has a lot of those. But I wonder what this creature is. Because technically the...
An elephant made out of stars and he has wings. So technically, there was a big bird and there was a small elephant. And they did it Tom and Jerry, they did the nasty, and it was under the stars. It was with Aurelion Sol's blessing. And this is what happened. Like, bro, insert the meme of Family Guy. Penguin. I feel like it was penguin and the elephant. You know? Hold on. Maybe we can find it. Yeah. I feel like this is what happened in here. That, you know? Except this is what happened. That's how we get this creature anyway.
The card is not marked as a celestial. Therefore, despite the appearance, I don't think this one was made by Aurelion Sol, just like the others. I think that this is actually an animal that lives on Mount Targon. Then there is Sunblessed Vigor. Our shield is our conviction, our resolve, our trust in the light. So you can see that this is the shield of the Solari shield bearer. And the light here is showing what the description described, how the shield bearer was reflecting the light with it. But then finally we get to Tiari the Traveler, the main character of these Targonian cards. As I mentioned before, here on the left and right, you can see Tiari's companions, which we have previously seen taking the gems. However, curiously, only Tiari is actually wearing the gems. The others are not.
Because of the good marketing. Bro, at the beginning of the video there was good Egyptian marketing. They sell you the gems, good gems, +5 strength, +5 protection. They are blessed. Good gem, take everywhere with you. You will be protected.
Perhaps that's why they won't make the climb. As an interesting side note, here Tiari is trying to ascend the mountain. But it was confirmed that Tiari is actually non-binary. They don't side with either gender. Which is just a fun fact that actually comes back when we get to his ascended form.
So maybe he's not even a human, eh? Maybe he's a celestial being? Just maybe.
Because spoilers, he actually does make it to the peak of the mountain.
Okay.
Then there is Bastion, nothing special here. But then there is Crescent Guardian, which is an automated Lunari protector.
Holy shit, they look so badass. Like, imagine, I'm going back to the video where we were talking about the possible raids in Riot MMO. Imagine we have to fight these guys in the middle of the raid, you know? Like the middle boss. Maybe the 5th or 6th boss. Oh, that'd be so amazing.
Stoic Guardian, the gentle touch of the full moon restores your strength. Awaken and safeguard us from those who would trespass upon this sacred place. A quote from Crescent Guardian's inscription. So as we can tell from the description, these guardians awake only under the full moon. Then there is dragons.
So it's just that simple. If they are in the raid, you don't raid when there is a full moon, so you don't have to kill them. So that's simple, bro.
Clutch. The description doesn't mention anything special, but should in the future we have a look at the other cards that are not Targonian that came with this expansion, you'll see that these eggs appear in the Demacian cards. Then there is Fledgling Stellarcorn. Like
Demacian cards, yeah, because there's a dragon in Demacia called Shivana, and Yarvan and Shivana are having some funny business.
any fledgling, young Stellarcorns must eventually take their first flattering flight. In this, they are just like other stars in the night sky, for they fall just as readily. Luckily, we are here to catch them, and when they are ready, return them. These are the words of Lidari, Keeper of the Stars. As you can see, in the background there are more Stellarcorns falling from the sky. And what this description mentioned is that these creatures fall on Runeterra, but the Vastaya, under the guidance of Soraka, help these creatures get back into the sky.
Aww.
And later on, I will show you what a fully grown Stellarcorn looks like.
I imagine it's going to be a massive thing. Or maybe... Yeah, I imagine it's going to be massive.
Then there is Giddy Sparkeologist.
I am interested. Sign me up. As the Jack's main, I am interested. Here we go, boys. The best part of the video.
Very similar to the one who was drawing pictures in the sky. This one somehow also feels very similar to Zoe.
Oh, bro, there's a lot of them. Oh my god, as a Jack's main, I'll be living in Mount Targon. I found my favorite place, boys.
Which makes me wonder, since the magic is very similar to hers, what if there are the Solari, the Lunari, but there are also these followers of the
Keep in mind that Zoe was a Lunari, so perhaps this is just Lunari magic. She was a Lunari? Really? The more you know.
Twilight. Because all these butterflies fit Zoe as well. That's her entire thematic. So I wonder if this is the magic of Twilight. Then there is Hush, which is literally just Soraka. And then there is Lunari Priestess. The description doesn't reveal anything new, but here
I don't know, based on everything we've seen, sure, we had the mommy Leona shot, but as far as I'm concerned, bro, Lunari do be winning my heart in here.
just quickly want to point out that she is in a pool of water, which is very thematic for the Lunari. They use pools of water lit by the moonlight to reveal their own destiny, which the Lunari call their orbit. And then there is the Mentor of the Stones.
I found my favorite region, tell me what you want, but I found my favorite region. Not only do we have plenty of Zoe all around, we also have Tiba, who is the master of art in here. Straight up my favorite region so far.
Who is talking to none other than Tiari, who is still ascending the mountain. I'm not gonna lie, this character has the best voice actor. And if you play against him, be ready to face quotes such as
Whee! Enter, traveler, and stop staring.
The description says, did you catch anything he said in there? Not a word. Seemed nice though. The words of Emir and Haley, which are the two companions of Tiari. Then there is the Solari Priestess, who also doesn't
Okay, maybe Solari Priestess ain't so bad.
reveal much. Then there is the Zenith Blade, which is specifically Leona's blade. Then there is Broadback Protector, which is just one of the Vastaya who helped the Stellarcorns. What's weird is that this card was revealed together with Trundle, despite this guy not being a troll. It is definitely one of the GOAT Vastaya. He even has 5 fingers and not 3. Then there is the Mountain Scryer, who is showing Tiari and his 2 friends some star constellations and the story.
Like, okay, I'm trying to understand the logistics of it all. Like, sure, the entire Mount of Targon, the entire population is living on the Mount Targon, but what do you eat? Okay, you want to climb the mountain, The road, the logistics is sure, understandable. Water, sure, fresh water from the top of the mountain, understand, but food. Because as far as I'm concerned, we're being very family friendly, we're protecting everyone here. Where do we get the meat? Where do we get the barbecue in here, you know? How do we eat?
Stories about them. Unfortunately, there are no major.
Maybe they have a magic fridge. Oh yeah, they have plenty of Zoes, yeah. And we specifically, Zoe has one animation where she's jumping into portal, stealing ice cream out of nowhere and coming back with ice cream, you know? I feel like they can do that, yeah. That answered that. I'm smart, yeah, straight up that was smart answer, yeah.
Reveals here. Then there is Shards of the Mountain. Unfortunately, nothing amazing here either. But then we get to the White Flame Protector. It was the children of Targon who first befriended the young, more peaceful dragons. Perhaps these juvenile creatures could sense the children's innocent curiosity, and chose, instead of causing them harm, to offer them protection. This is cool because it reveals that the dragons are not just purely evil. Whenever humans are not being awful, the dragons actually don't mind them. And ironically, on Targon, somehow children are the less awful ones. And then there is Fused Firebrand, who is marked as a dragon, but the description reveals something cool. Countless challenges await those climbing Mount Targon. Some, like the Endless Ascent, slowly sap the aspirant's strength. Others are much more immediate. Here, I am not exactly sure what this creature is. However, when Leona and Diana ascended the mountain, in their short stories, there was mention of a black creature that was oozing dark blood. We always thought that that was some kind of a void creature, but looking at this, it would make sense that there are more of these dark creatures.
Who created them and why are they there? That's the question. I feel like maybe that's one of the Singer's experiments that kinda wrong, you know?
Either way, here at the bottom, you can see Taric and only one of his companions.
Holy, there's actual people there, bro. He's so big then.
The other one is missing, but we are not sure if the other one was lost during this battle or if that happened before. Then there is the Moon Dreamer, who has a lot of quotes with the other cards. Here I just want to mention that this dog is called Kulun, and
Dog? Bro, that's a cat. No way, that's a dog, that's a cat.
his eye is the one that we have seen before. But more on the Moon Dreamer as we get to the Celestials. And then there is Mountain Sojourners. Sojourners? One of those. I have no idea how to pronounce this. Of course.
That's Doctor Strange, by the way. Those of you who watched Marvel Cinematic, you know that's Doctor Strange. The moment when he's being transported to Everest, yeah.
Of course, here we can see Taric at the back again, and the two of his companions. So this card is just continuing their ascent of the mountain. Then there is Ravun, Daylight Speaker. I am pretty sure this is the leader of the Rahorak, which are the elite warriors of the Solari. And then we finally have a grown Stellarhorn. And this card describes what is happening with the Stellarcorns. See that star moving across the night sky? That's a grown Stellarcorn. While the young ones lend us their healing magic until they can be returned to the sky, grown Stellarhorns can wield that power on their own. It is considered very lucky to see one and know it for what it is. Luckier still to care for one.
Wait, so Soraka teaches them how to heal people? So Soraka is a Celestial, ended up on Targon, who enslaved her dad, who is Aurelion Sol, and she is teaching people how to heal using the children of unicorns. Bro, the plot thickens. Maybe Soraka is not a good person.
Once again, the words of Lidari. So what is happening with the Stellarcorns is that they fall onto Runeterra so that people there can use their healing magic. Which makes me wonder if these Stellarcorns are falling onto Runeterra because of Soraka, who is trying to help mortals. Maybe that's what Soraka's starfall is. Whenever Soraka calls down a star, maybe it's not just a random star.
King Unicorn, bro. Imagine in League. There's her Q ability now? Because I feel like it's her Q abilities. Star falls her. Yeah. A star falls from the sky at the target location, dealing magical damage to low enemies. If the enemy didn't circle, Soraka recovers health. Imagine that's not a star. Imagine that's a small unicorn.
Maybe it is actually a Stellarcorn. Then there is Cygnus the Moonstalker. The description doesn't reveal anything new, so just know that this is one of Diana's special champions. But then there is Inviolus Vox, one of Aurelion Sol's brothers. Which, you know, looking at the name, it makes sense.
Aurelion has a brother? The more you know, I mean, he looks kinda badass.
It seems like the dragons have these kinds of names. Aurelion Sol, Inviolus Vox.
And Avada Kedavra Timo, yeah.
Look to the heavens and see as I do. First the signals, for by night they shine. Then the fury, for by day all burns. You will see, we will all see. The words of the Herald of the Dragons. This card mentions that first comes a signal and then the dragons arrive. So it is entirely possible that a dragon invasion is coming to Runeterra.
Nice.
Aurelion even hints at that with his quotes. But the signal is probably referring to the fire that comes from the dragons. Here you can see that Inviolus Vox is on fire, but if you look at the background, there are two more signaling flames there. So perhaps these are signaling the beginning of the invasion of dragons. Then there is the Sun Guardian. I first thought that the Sun Guardian would be the person before this artifact. But then when you read the description, it becomes obvious that the
Was it just me or he said it then when we read the description twice?
Sun Guardian is the artifact. Shining Guardian, your wrath burns like noonday sun. Come forth and punish those who would trespass on this sacred place. Sun Guardian's inscription. So just like the Crescent Guardians that the Lunari have, this is the automated protector of the Solari.
Who's inside though? Imagine that's Timo that's brand inside.
And the next card reveals what it can do. Here I just quickly want to mention how similar this looks to the Sun Disk of Shurima, which makes sense. because the Targonians toyed with the Shuriman Ascended quite a lot. So I don't think it's a coincidence that this Sun Guardian looks somewhat similar to the crest of Shurima. I do believe that the Sun Disk was made from the same material. Then there is Grandfather Rumul. Here I just quickly want to mention that a lot of people thought that whatever this guy is what Jax is.
Makes sense, 3 fingers, give him a mask, give him a real weapon, because that's not a real weapon. I feel like that is a Jax, bro.
Jax is also purple and he also has only 3 fingers. However, so does Alistar. So I think that this guy is just a Minotaur.
Bro, we just had to kill the vibe in here, bro. What about the speculations?
Because Jax is not supposed to be purple. His skin is purple because he was affected by the Void during the war with Icathia. So no, this guy is not related to Jax.
But what if, hear me out, Necrit, what if this guy was also fighting the Void in Icathia? Maybe he was also in that war, eh? What do you mean?
And then there is the Infinite Mind Splitter. Travelers who lock eyes with the creature are said to be struck by a knowledge so profound, an insight so awesome, that their minds crumble beneath its gaze. So yeah, unfortunately we don't get more info about this dragon. But there is no doubt this is one of Aurelion's brethren as well.
Just don't look at it. Easy.
And then there is the Arbiter of the Peak, who is meeting Tiari the Traveler as he finally ascended the mountain. The Arbiter of the Peak was first mentioned in Taric's bio. This crystalline figure is what meets the travelers when they finally reach the peak of Mount Targon. And he's the one who explains what Targon is all about. Here's the cool Easter egg though. Of course, the Arbiter has a lot of quotes against the other aspects, like Leona, Diana and Taric. However, when he meets Zoe, he actually calls Zoe Maisha. And here's the genius thing about this. Maisha was the previous aspect of Twilight, because, you know, now the aspect of Twilight is Zoe. But the Arbiter doesn't know that.
So he doesn't like Zoe, gotcha.
Doesn't know that Maisha is gone. And that's because when Zoe ascended, she was handpicked by the Twilight. Zoe never actually ascended the mountain. And that's why the Arbiter had never met her. And that's why the Arbiter thinks that Zoe is Maisha. Because Zoe has never technically been to the peak of Mount Targon. This is just an insanely cool detail. And I have no idea how the writers even thought about this. It is amazing.
Also, the question is, why we didn't see this guy in the call cinematic when Pantheon was climbing the mountain?
Now, although that seems to be it for the Targonian cards, that's not actually true. Because the invoke mechanic of the Targonian cards makes you reveal cards that you can't collect in your deck. So, you can't see them here. For example, there is the Traveler, which is Tiari's ascended form. And here is where the non-binary thing comes in. Tiari the Traveler, as in the person, was voice acted by a man. However, the Traveler was voice acted by a female. I'm not sure who the voice actors are, but
so basically Kindred, got it.
It is a really cool detail that ties into the non-binary thing. Anyway, we are not exactly sure what kind of aspect
cinematic was not at the top of the mountain though. Was it not? I was pretty sure that was the top of the mountain in there.
The Traveler is. I assume it is the aspect of the Wanderer. Next, there is the Warrior. And this is Pantheon before he was slain by Aatrox. Because there is a quote that Leona has against him. She calls him Atreus. And Atreus is the current Pantheon. So this is Atreus from the past. AKA Pantheon, whose body was taken over by the aspect of war, before the aspect was slain by Aatrox.
What? We've got time travel now?
Next there is the Golden Sister and the Silver Sister. And these two are the origins of the Sun and the Moon. Basically, what's happening with these two is that at the beginning of time, these two somehow came to existence. But they were so similar to each other that over time they tried to be better than the other. This started a little bit of a war between the two. And over time, the two just split the cycles into the day and night, so that each one of them would always have a part in the cycle when they can rule.
See, the thing is, you don't really need Moon in this whole scenario. Because the Moon is only alive thanks to the Sun, because you only see Moon shining thanks to the Sun. Remove the Sun, Moon doesn't exist. Remove the Moon, Sun doesn't give a... The Sun still exists, you know?
The quotes describe this really well.
And from the heavens, two beings came. One robed in silver's glow, the other clad in golden flame. Though both were formed of cosmic light, they fought, for they were two alike. And so these two split night from day, so each could always have their way.
And then there are the Celestials. As I mentioned, most of these
Okay, I take it back, bro. That dog celestial was amazing, but this one, I feel like I found my favorite.
Celestials were made by Aurelion. As Aurelion spread stars across the sky, he created star constellations. And these star constellations turned into celestial beings. Most of them are
That's Baron. That's basically the Baron version of it.
just cool creatures. But then, the cool ones come in. There are two special Celestials that we need to have a look at. There is the Scourge,
Oh, no, same thing. Snakes. Yeah, potato, potato, tomato, tomato.
which is Baron Nashor. We are not exactly sure how. It was confirmed by Riot that we know that Baron Nashor was created by the Void. Although again, it was said that as far as we know. So maybe Aurelion knows something more. Either way, Aurelion mentions that this was his creation, which really makes me wonder about its origins. The way I see it, as Aurelion Sol was making all the star constellations, because he fought a lot of void creatures, I think that the Scourge was inspired by Baron Nashor. Just like the Void can take physical creatures and turn them into Voidborn, I think Aurelion did the opposite. He looked at the Void creature and he crafted his own being in its reflection.
Okay.
On top of this, let me just play you a couple of quotes from the Moondreamer.
Teeth sharp and swift, risen from the darkest rift. It is Lord Baron from the void of space.
And then finally, for the last card in this deck, we have the Great Beyond. And Aurelion calls this one his magnum opus.
Like literally everything. That's the classic salad, you know? That's the classic lazy salad. You've got potatoes, you throw in potatoes. You've got tomatoes, you've got tomatoes. You've got eggs, you throw in eggs. You've got ham, you throw in ham. You've got pineapple, you throw in pineapple. You know, you make it all into salad and you have this. And that's magnum opus.
Which means that Aurelion made this. And I have no idea what this is. This definitely seems to be inspired by the Void. Which again would make sense. Aurelion fought the Void many times before, so he knows what it looks like and how it behaves. So perhaps he had drawn a Void creature into the sky. And then, with sheer will, this creature came alive. And we know this because of the Moondreamer again. This means that perhaps all the Celestials who came from the star constellations came to be with a sheer force of will. However, we are still not sure what these creatures are. Curiously though, Aurelion is not going to use these against the Void. He is very specifically mentioning using these against the Targonians.
Yeah, because he's kinda salty, because he's kinda enslaved.
But that's it for these cards. If you'd like me to talk about the cinematic, let me know, because I'm not sure if there is much that I could explain there, but I'm definitely willing to do it. Other than that, I am now going to go and check the other cards from the other regions, because there is a lot of good stuff there too. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.
So yeah, basically chat, basically what we have in here is no story, no explanation, no nothing, just to familiarize yourself with the environment of Targon. I feel like we need to get the story of Targon. I feel like it was the second video after Aurelion Sol. Yeah, we'll need to watch it next time. Anyway, and that's the video, boys.